Noel Nation, welcome in to another episode of the Renegade Rundown. We have another great show for you guys today. Of course, as always, my lovely and beautiful co-host, Jen Santee, aka at Jen Santee on X. We've got my good friend Chris Frazier of Spear Addicts Media, and down on the bottom right, Jesse Coger from PlantTheSpear.com. Boy, Florida State has just been all in the news for one reason or another, be it conference realignment, getting left out of the playoffs, which we have talked about ad nauseum the past week. And we're going to keep the pressure on. But really, right now, what's going on hot and heavy? We've talked, like I just mentioned, conference realignment. We did a show 3 months ago. We came back and revisited it this past week. Chris and them guys had a show and talked about it yesterday. All of a sudden, the narrative that we've been telling you guys that it's all about FSU and their relationship with Fox and Fox wanting these TV dollars. That's what this whole thing came down to. It wasn't so much about who the partner is going to be, whether it's UNC in Virginia or Clemson or Miami or wherever the case may be. Well, all of a sudden, all these Big Ten shows out there, Ohio State podcasts, USC podcasts, etc. Jen, she watches all those podcasts for us, so we don't have to. But yeah, that's the word that's on the street. That's, what's kind of been leaked out of Fox. And you know how these things work. The narrative they want out is what gets out. And supposedly it's Florida State, and whatever they can do to get them started. They're their belle of the ball. They're the apple of their eye. That's the one team they want to get in, and they'll figure out the odd number situation, or whatever the case may be at a later date. But anyways, anybody fire in?
Well, I mean, the only other thing I've heard is that if they could get UNC to be a partner with them, I think that is where they would want to go. And I always thought, I think a lot of us did, that it was going to be Clemson, but doesn't look like it is. It doesn't. I think if they can get UNC to come with them, then that is a slam dunk for them. But if it's not UNC, it's not looking, it's kind of a wild situation, to be honest. But then when you think about it and you kind of dive in about, and Clemson's a great program. I'm not saying that. It's just, they're so far away from being AAU. I think that's the issue.
Yeah, I guess that was the big news coming out, or the most poignant thing, the newest material, that because I would have thought Clemson would be the top guy. Mm-hmm. All the conversations we had, but that's pretty much came out that I guess they don't give two shits. They don't want Colt Dabo. They're not interested in that.
Well, I'm going to be a dickhead, so
feel free.
I've never said Clemson, and the reason being is because they don't have the attributes that are needed to get into the Big Ten. Mm-hmm. Even if they had the AAU status, they still don't have the attributes, which they can't get because they don't have enough research facility. They don't have an engineering program that's adequate. The only two schools that I ever picked were Virginia and North Carolina. Miami has what's needed as far as the attributes go, but they don't have a program that's winning.
Or wanted, I would say.
Winning. I mean, there's a multitude of reasons why you can't take Miami right now. Also, the Big Ten is really big about class. So the things that Miami's gotten caught doing over the past, not that it will reoccur, but it could. You got the same committee members in charge of a private school, which is the other issue. They like to keep everything hush-hush. And in the facts of being in the Big Ten, even if you are private, they want you to share any of that with them in case it ever comes out. They know how to go against it, battle for it. The same reason that Michigan should have told the Big Ten what was going on before it happened, or as it happened. And that's why the Big Ten came after them, because they know the rules. It's not an unspoken rule either. Luckily, getting to see some of the contracts of what the conference between the universities mean, it's pretty straightforward. Don't fuck us, we won't fuck you. But it's not in those words. The words are very simplified down to every situation. But to me, it doesn't matter if there's a partner or not. If Florida State's the only one that's ready to go, they're going to take them. I know it's going to be an odd number as far as the Big Ten goes in the full conference size, but they said they'll figure that out. But it's not hard to figure out, man. Like as far as the attributes go that Florida State's gotten already, and then what they're going to have very soon are great. And then also in the case of getting the AAU membership is close. When I say close, that means within 4 years. I don't mean they're going to get it tomorrow, but within 4 years after this medical facility is built, the research center starts happening with the magnet and all that other good stuff that they're looking forward to. They're going to do that with Ohio State, regardless whether we're in the Big Ten or not. That information is going to start getting shared between Ohio State and Florida State back and forth. They're going to work together. So being in the conference just makes more sense as far as academics go. So like everybody else thinks this is only a sports thing. And the biggest thing that's pushing it is what information all of these Big Ten schools want to share with Florida State and vice versa. So it's going to happen. I can't tell you, hey, they're going to come out tomorrow and say we're going to the Big Ten, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it happened. Based off of everything that's been said over the past couple of days, when you have, 50 or 60 people saying, hey, something's going on, usually that means something's going on. I guess I was just unfortunate and James was unfortunate. We did it a year and a half ago. But that's because we heard it then. That's what we were getting told back then. We're getting ready to do this. So when you talk to Alfred, you learn a lot. And he says it without saying it. Very smart man.
Yeah, it's when you got smoke coming from both sides of the aisle. That's why I thought it was so funny and wanted to retouch it to start the show, is because, yeah, I mean, we sit here and tell these people and we go back and forth. People tell us we're full of shit, all this stuff. Chris said it. They had it a year and a half, 2 years ago. We talked about it 3 months ago. We talked about it with Plant the Spear, I think, last week. And then it just feels good to get that confirmation for the other side. And now, if you don't see it, if you can't read the tea leaves at this point in time, I don't know what to tell you. August 15th is the deadline to be in the Big Ten by 2025. I fully expect it. What do you think, Plant the Spear? What do you think? I guess we've pretty much covered, like the idea of, both sides wanting anybody,
Right.
But the Big Ten and the matchups and just all the pros and cons. What's your biggest, your biggest thing you look forward to as far as getting in the Big Ten here in a couple of years?
Yeah, and I think Chris makes a lot of good points about, one, it's the fit, and it's checking all the boxes that you can get as well. And then I think people also have to remember, too, that when you look at it from Fox's perspective, you also need to bring something to the table viewership-wise. Yeah, wins are great, but, if say, a team like Miami were to actually win games, which we know that's not the case, but if they were to win games, but they still don't have viewers, that's great, but not in the eyes of Fox. And, Florida State, I just saw put out today, credit to College Football Home, tweeted out the top 10 most watched teams of the season average weekly viewership, and Florida State was 8th. So you're top 10 in the country in viewership this year, which I think really helps your position. I've looked a few years ago at last year's data. Miami was like way down the list. Clemson had, they were still, they're not touching Florida State's numbers this year. They're not anywhere inside of this list. And their numbers were good when they were at their absolute peak. Florida State's was step for step when they were in the lowest low that they've been in 4 decades. So you can see that, and I live up in Charlotte. So like Greenville, Spartanburg is a growing area, but it's not that big. So they don't really have that base either. Yeah, they have a big booster base and a lot of money, but again, I think like Chris said, it comes down to more than wins on the field. And I think Florida State's logo is one that does hold that weight. Everybody knows Florida State. It's funny. I saw a lot of people, the Miami guys, talking about their logo could have got them into the playoffs. And I'm like, your logo can't get your own fans into the stands. Well, how do you think it's going to get you into the playoffs? So really, man, I think Florida State is an attractive from the TV viewership, the competitiveness on the field, and the fit. And I think it's going to be, at first I was like, I don't know, man, it's going to be kind of cold because I saw Michigan, Ohio State, I think was like 33 degrees. But at the same time, there's some fun matchups in there. And you talk about Michigan games at the big house, 100,000 plus. That, that's exciting. You got the shoe. I think a whiteout game at Penn State is something that's on everybody's bucket list for college football games. I mean, of course, the SEC would have great ones too, but then you also have to look at it from Florida State's perspective. I mean, Fox is killing it. They're ESPN is making cut after cut after cut because they're overspending for talent. Disney's losing money. Fox is bringing in talent after talent. They're paying out more than the SEC. So to me, I'll buy an extra jacket. Let's go to the Big Ten.
Yeah, man. And Mike Bartz, I saw your super. We're going there next. So we'll get that thing up here in a second. But yeah, I totally agree. The weather thing, me and James talked about it the other day. It's like the final game of the year is Florida. You control usually the game before that. So you're talking about a game or two where it might possibly be snowing or something like that. The championship is indoors. It's okay. And when it comes to, like you said, bringing something new, well, Florida State needs something brought to them that separates it too. And if Florida State were to go into the SEC, which we've all agreed, like, look, that wouldn't be the end of the world. We all think it's Big Ten, but that wouldn't be the end of the world. But you'd just be another team in the SEC. I mean, they've already got UF, you've got Georgia, you've got all these teams around us. You know, you go to the Big Ten, you would be that Florida market, that team in Florida. And yeah, the sky is the limit with Fox and everything. It's just an explosive pairing. And that's what's happening. It's just a matter of time. We're counting down the days. Maybe it'll be August 15th. Maybe it'll be August 10th. Who knows? Maybe it'll be January 30th. We'll see. Like Chris said, it wouldn't surprise me to see it get announced any day.
I mean,
well, the one thing.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say the one thing I did hear about Fox. Has anybody heard that they might be hiring someone new on their big game day, or what do they call it? Big noon Saturday or something
Big
like that?
noon kickoff.
Mm-hmm.
Who was missing from College Game Day on ESPN?
Pollock.
Man, I would love that. That would be a perfect hire for them.
Yeah.
I have heard that. Mm-hmm.
He got the dirty end of the stick. Like, I was a fan of Pat. Like, don't get me wrong, and he's got a great show and he's did great stuff. But that, just something about that whole chemistry that they got with him on there, and them it's kind of like the thing where you find the cool person and they're like, look, we're cool too. We can have Pat on here. It's like that whole kind of thing. So I think
it was the
Pollock really was missed.
Hello, fellow teenagers like me. And
yes.
That's what it seemed like to me. Like, they brought this cool guy in that all the guys watch and everybody thinks is really cool. And then he shows up with these guys in suits, and it's so cringe. I'm
Christopher
sorry.
Walken with the skateboard when he's like, hello there, fellow
Steve
student.
Buscemi. It's Steve Buscemi.
Oh, Steve Buscemi. That's right.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But like, yeah, it's just cringe. I'm like, ooh. You know.
Well, Mike Bartz comes in with a super, and we were going to get there sooner or later. We might as well start off the kind of portal talk for today. Mike Bartz with his super chat here for $2. We appreciate you. Final thoughts, Cam or DJ? Cam is visiting soon, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. One of y'all can fix it for me, but I think he's going to be visiting tomorrow. And then if I'm not mistaken, DJ Ukulele will be getting here Saturday for a one-day, possible two-day visit. This is a great conversation to have, man. I'm on the Cam Ward train currently, but I could be swayed. I think Jen is leading DJU. We can start off with Jesse this time. What do you think? Where are you leaning, Cam or DJ?
Yes. And that's my first answer is yes. So, man, honestly, like, I was planning on tomorrow going and watching some film and kind of seeing who I was looking at. And I saw a lot of people that really downed DJU. And so here's the thing about DJ for me is when you look at the offense this year with what they did with Jordan Travis and what Mike Norvell did to have success in this offense, the way they used them, the way this offense flowed, and it got you to 13-0. Had you had some things break your way, you're in the playoffs, you're playing for a national championship. So Jordan Travis got you there. When you look, and I did a side-by-side comparison for DJU and Jordan Travis in about 20 different categories, it would blow your mind how similar their numbers are. Now, I know you got to turn on the film and you got to watch some things too, but man, I mean, the thing with DJ is you're getting a guy who's 6'4", 252 pounds. He's got 39 power 5 starts. A lot of those came from the ACC, 2,600 snaps of experience. I know Cam Ward's got a lot of experience too. And, here's the thing, man. A lot of people are like, well, what about the quarterbacks on your roster? There's nothing that says Tate can't win the job. And if that's the case, then let's roll with Tate. That's nothing against those guys. But you also figure, what if Brock Glenn beats out Tate Rodemaker and then in the spring Tate transfers? Well, you got to take somebody anyway. You can't go into the season with 2 quarterbacks. So I think that the first answer is yes, you should take somebody. And if you can get somebody that can be a day one starter for you, I think you take it. But man, I'm telling you, like, when you look at these numbers, it is eerily similar down to passing, the depth, the rushing, everything is almost identical. He can make the throws and I'll just throw a couple numbers out at you real quick. So when you look at the passing depth, the way they stack up, the way they throw the ball, 20 plus yards down the field, deep throws. DJU threw 18.2%, Jordan threw 17.8. And then the mid-range throws, he threw 29.6. Jordan threw 26.5. Your short throws, 0 to 9 yards, 34.1, 31.7. So he's used to this. And then I also like with him that he's shown that he can pick up a new offense fast with the Oregon State. And then I think the last thing I'll say before I kick it back to you on this one is a lot of people remember his time at Clemson, and they think that they judge him off of that. He had some accuracy issues. He had some turnover issues, but he openly criticized that offense when he left. He said they didn't use him like they were supposed to. And guess what? Clemson fired their offensive coordinator and brought in another guy. And K. Klubnik looks terrible right now. So you give DJ a year with Tony Tokarz and Mike Norvell at the quarterback position. Maybe they polish him up a little bit. You get an experienced guy. I think that's enough to win you games because you can run the offense like that. And then you look at DJ. I mean, again, they won 10 games or 11 games, I think, his last year at Clemson. They won 9 at Oregon State. So to me, while I love Tate, he doesn't have near the experience. When he came into the Florida game, I know it was a difficult situation. He still kind of had that deer in the headlights look. I just think if you're trying to get to at least 10 to 11 wins to put yourself in the 12-team playoff next year, if you surround him with some pieces, I think DJ can get you there. I like that he's a tank and he's not really been injury prone, and you get the dual threat ability. So, man, I love Cam Ward. I think you got a higher ceiling with Cam Ward, but I think when you look at the numbers, you can absolutely get it done and put yourself in a playoff conversation with DJ. But, man, isn't the transfer portal insane? Like, this guy played against you in Doak, in orange and white not long ago, and he may have a chip on his shoulder for old Dabo, so that would be fun too.
That was my go-to. I said my favorite color is Petty. Bring in DJ, let him beat up Clemson again. Like, let's do it. I think that would be fun.
So here's my only issue with DJ. He's got Clemson blood in him. Yeah. I got nothing else. DJ's a good quarterback. Cam Ward to me, and I think one of y'all said it. Y'all forgive me if I don't remember who says what, but the ceiling with Cam Ward is definitely higher. There's no doubt about that. But there's also more work to do with him. His floor is lower right now. It's them it being consistently beside each other. Cam's biggest problem is he holds the ball like Michael Vick. And he fumbles the ball multiple times. He holds on to the ball too long. Do I think that Tony Tokarz and Mike Norvell can fix it? Of course I do. I also think that's why I don't care which one of them we get, because I trust the evaluation period of Mike Norvell and Tony Tokarz. Whichever guy they end up choosing, whoever starts, even if it's Tate that starts next year, I will say, well, they know better than I do. They know better than the rest of us. I have to trust the process. That's what they tell the players. So as me being a fan, I'm going to trust the process and trust that they know exactly what they're doing, because they've proven to do more with less. And when I say less, I mean a lot less. And I don't mean that Jordan's less than either of these two guys. I am stating that when you bring guys in from places that no one else wants this person, or you've never heard of this guy, and then they end up being a star, that's development. And that's something that they see in you that you don't even see in yourself. You listen to Jared Verse talk about it. I didn't know that I was this until they showed me. Jordan told you the same thing. They thought I could be a Heisman Trophy winner. I never, ever thought I would be a Heisman Trophy candidate, let alone a winner. So when you have coaches that can see in you before you do, that's who I'm going to trust. And they've done it multiple times, not just with those two. But I don't know if anybody's broke this or not. Like, I don't really care at this point. I think someone said it somewhere, but we were told not to say anything, but someone said it, so I'm covered.
Get it. Breaking news right here on the Renegade Rundown.
Cam Ward will be here Thursday. And that's a fact. Like, there's people out there saying, I don't know if Cam's going to go anywhere besides Coral Gables on Tuesday. He hasn't set up any official visits, blah, blah, blah.
Well, my bad, guys. Whoops.
Cam will be in Tallahassee on Thursday. Like, I don't know why that's like a big deal or whatever, but
that's what I heard. That's my fault if it wasn't supposed to be out there, but yeah,
it's out there.
What I heard.
It's out there.
I thought I've seen some people put it out there, but DJ Uungule will be there. I think Friday and Saturday, or Saturday and Sunday, one of the two.
Yeah, one day this weekend for sure, at least.
Well, I know he's going to be here for 2 because he's doing something. But
okay, cool.
If I had to bear down and tell you who I think we're going to get, based off of he's taking ownership already, is DJ. I mean, he's already following the Ward. He's doing things that it just adds up. Do I care which one we get? Not really. Like I said, the only thing I have against DJ is he's got Clemson blood. That's it. Now, if he wants to drain that out and fill it with garnet and gold, we can help him out. We've got good surgeons, but it is what it is. But like I said, even if it's Tate that runs out there, not that we're not going to get a portal QB, but I also don't believe that Tate's just going to lay down. So
yeah, this staff, not to cut you off, my bad.
Oh,
but
you're good. I'm done.
this staff, they have shown us over and over, and you touched on it, doing more with less. The first couple portal classes, it wasn't, oh, go get whoever you want. That was USC and that was Alabama taking guys from Pitt like Jordan Addison, these big, no doubt can't miss prospects. They're getting a Jermaine Johnson off Georgia's bench. They're getting a dude, out of University of Albany and Jared Verse. Now they're to the level where they can leverage that, which is amazing. And when you look at Cam Ward and DJU, I agree with pretty much everything everybody said. And when you talk about the ceiling, I think the thing with Ward, like if you had just a road grader offensive line and everything in place, a Lamborghini to turn over to Ward, yeah, he might could take you all the way and have the highest ceiling. But like you said, DJU, and I think Jen mentioned his experience level and plant the spear. He reeled off those stats. He can get in there and probably fix mistakes and make things happen within the Mike Norvell offense and have a better chance of giving you that A offense rather than maybe just out of this world A++. But yeah, either one is fine with me. If Tate wins it, that's what I was saying. I was screaming from the rooftops that Tate was going to, improve, continue this arc and really be that guy next year. But, unfortunately, that isn't what he put on the field. But like you guys said, and we've talked about, if he takes it to another level in camp and wins out, he wins out. But there's more people hitting the portal. There's a couple guys from Georgia. I know everybody's seen Marvin Jones kind of hinting at something. He hasn't put any names out there, but we all know that Marvin Jones Jr. has flirted off and on with Florida State over and over again. Offensive lineman Alu Baugh, that Florida State recruited 2 cycles ago in the 22 cycle, is hitting the portal. I don't know how many snaps. I haven't really done a ton of digging in there, but I know he's a guy that Alex Atkins really liked. We hosted Samson Okunlola and the guy, I believe it's Kennard from Georgia Tech. It seems like it's a little slower moving this year with the portal. We don't have the slam dunk guys outside of that combination, of quarterbacks, but and anybody can take it. Anybody can start off. What's the biggest thing you're looking at as far as storylines with the portal? And then after everybody, we kind of talk about this. I do have a little bit of a story from something I saw in another podcast. We kind of talked about. I'm gonna bring up.
I was only going to say that I don't think they have to make all these portal hits right now. I think they're in a position now where they can take their time. You're not looking at it going, oh, we've got to have this now. They're in a position where they get to take their time, evaluate, not stress out about it. And honestly, with this coaching staff and what they've done, if we don't get any news by signing day, I'm okay with it. Like, I kind of just trust what they're going to do. And honestly, just like with the quarterback, whichever quarterback they take, or if they even don't take one, I think they will. But like, I just, if they felt comfortable, I'd be okay with that. And I'm sure you guys have maybe either a different take on that, but I'd be fine with what Mike wants to do, to be honest.
Yeah, and for context, it runs for 30 days this first period. So it started on the 4th. So there's a little bit more time, Yeah. National Signing Day is the 21st. So there's still 10 days after National Signing Day with these portal guys.
And what I'm saying is they are able, or they're in a position now where they can wait for a fit that works. They're not rushing anything. And that's just my thoughts. You guys go ahead.
Yeah, I will just say, like, the last thing, to touch on the portal, I'm going to echo what you guys said. I think you do have to trust the staff. I mean, again, you take a guy from Louisville, you inherit him and you turn him from a guy who wanted to play wide receiver into a Heisman hopeful quarterback. You trust their judgment. You trust their development skills. Jermaine Johnson, they got him, like you mentioned, a second string guy, turned him into an all ACC NFL player. You got the same with Jared Verse. So there's going to be guys that are going to come and go. You also have the spring period. So there will be another period there as well where the portal's open. So I just think, man, they're out recruiting hard with trying to get this number one, maybe a possible number one, making a run at number one class or something like that. So there's a lot going on, but I think Florida State's in a good position. I mean, obviously, you've become a transfer destination now. Who doesn't want to come be a transfer, and come play at Florida State the way they put you on a stage, the way they're going to put a few of them in the league this year. You also heard with the battle's end, they said what Ingram say last week, 2,200 new members or something like that. So, Florida State is as competitive in the NIL space on the field and in the portal and in recruiting as they've been in a while. So I just feel like you're in a good place right now. And you just got to trust the staff to make the next steps, man. And I feel good about where we're going to be headed. Everybody says we're going to get some big names, and whether you like the portal or not, man, it's exciting to me. I love it. I think it changes the game because you could add 2 or 3 pieces, and all of a sudden your season changes overnight. And so I think that's really exciting.
And Florida State might not need to get slam dunk guys. I would agree with that 100%. But they're going to.
Yeah,
exactly.
Here's the thing, like, I'm intrigued with what's in the portal, but I'm more intrigued with what I know is coming in the portal. And that's based off of the conversations of having it with the guys that are entering the portal. Everybody wanted to jump on this one particular offensive lineman. I'm not going to say his name. There's a better one. Just hold on just a damn second. You wanted to jump on the defensive end with Pitt. I like him, but there's a better one coming. So hold on a second. It might take both, but there's a lot of things fixing to happen. The portal, there's going to be guys that just enter the portal and they're not going to say, I like these 3 schools. He's going to come out and he's going to say, I'm going to Florida State. And that's it. It's a dead end. There's no more talk. ETN is going probably to Georgia, but it's not because, like, y'all don't even know what Florida offered ETN to stay. Like, it's more than any other college would offer him to come, and more than Georgia double. So he's not going to Georgia for the money.
They offered him more than what Georgia is going to give him, right?
Double.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Double. Wow, that's wanting to go win.
That's wanting to get.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Make quad.
People don't give these kids enough credit. I mean, people are always, they just immediately go to it's about the money. But you got to understand, what I've seen, the majority, and maybe it's just the guys that Mike Norvell gets because he goes out and gets dogs who want to come in and win. But most of the guys I've got is guys that came from positions that were a mess and they wanted to go somewhere they could win. And they saw a vision, even when Florida State didn't necessarily have the wins on the board. They saw the vision, and now Florida State has the wins on the board. There ain't shit holding us back. And I see a lot of people in the comments, and maybe Chris can comment on this, probably going to get DJ. Don't know what Cam is asking for as far as dollar signs. And people keep asking, acting like, oh, well, you can't get Cam Ward because then once you spend $2 million on him, then you have no money for everybody else. You got to be able to spread that money out. Bullshit, people. You guys do not realize how good the battles end. These boosters, what's going on at Florida State? The money is not. If they want to pay him $2 million and go get the rest of their class filled out, they absolutely can. And I'm not going to throw out numbers that I know as far as like what their war chest is, because I don't know if it's allowed to be out there. But yeah, $2 million is not bankrupting what we have going on for NIL. Whether they want to give him to that, or they give him that or not, or whether we win the recruitment over Ohio State or not, that's up in the air. But Florida State is not going to lose these portal things over money. They will lose it over a guy who is like, obviously all he cares about is money. If all he gives a shit about is money and is, doing something in bad faith and going to be a dickhead over a couple $1,000 stuff like that, yeah, they'll let him walk. They want dudes who are going to come in here, take on that unconquered spirit and be ready to climb. So yeah, don't worry about Cam Ward, what he's asking, this and that, unless he's just, if it's to the point where he's not a guy you want on your football team because he wants money, then they won't get him. But if they think Cam Ward can come in here and win a national championship, they'll get the money they need and they'll get it done.
Yeah, I think you make a good point, though, because I do think that is, we say we trust the staff's evaluation on players, but you also have to think of this like managing a business, too. And Mike Norvell and Ingram Smith are going to talk. And, again, if you have 2 guys and you're sitting there weighing the scales and you say one of them can get us a national championship, but we're going to have to pay for it. One of them can get us into playoff conversation and, we can pay a little less for it. they're going to figure out that cost balance. You know what I mean? They know what they need and they know what they want to pay for it. So you have to trust them to do that too. But I will say, to George's point about it's not always about the money. Some people, I mean, look at Washington State. You have an uncertain future there. Oregon State's the same way with the the way the conference dissolved around them. And then you also have, like, look at Keon Coleman. Man, if he'd have stayed at Michigan State, like, granted, they would have been better with Keon Coleman, but yeah, your coach get fired. They were one of the worst teams in the Big Ten. Like, granted, it didn't end the way you wanted to here, but man, I mean, just imagine the experience he had this year that he would have had at Michigan State. So, like you said, it's not always about the money. Of course, it's part of it, but guys are just looking for sometimes better situations, less toxic situations. And, Florida State, I think the culture is a sell too. And the fan base, the sellouts, the crowds, and all that stuff, that also makes it an attractive destination more than just a paycheck.
Yeah, I kind of hinted at the beginning. I said, look, guys, this portal has started slow. And then Chris kind of talked about it. Just hold your horses. This thing it's slow. Guys don't stay in the portal long. When they come out, most of them, like Chris was saying, the top guys, they go straight to a place. They have an idea in mind. They've already got this stuff figured out. So we've got 30 days total, whatever, 2 or 3 weeks left. Don't be surprised when that big name just hits and bam, they're an all. And we're going to get as many as we want, man. That's just what it is. High school recruiting is not taking a back seat neither. Jeremiah Smith, my lovely co-host, was letting me know that, man, them Big 10 Ohio State podcasts are worried more and more and more. You just keep adding tea leaves in the bank. Kind of like how Chris was talking about DJU seems to be the one who it just seems like, it's leaning more that way. Or maybe it was Jen that said it. It's the same thing with Jeremiah Smith. He's been on campus 15 times, whatever it is. He's about to be there again for a final visit. I just don't see how they don't pull this thing off. What have you heard from them different podcasts and stuff, Jen?
Well, I have one I'm going to listen to. It didn't start until we had gotten on the show, but it was a Big 10 podcast that was their headline. I sent it to you, but I haven't listened to it yet. It could just be the thumbnail to get people to click in on it, just for them to say, hey, we think he's going to stick, So I get that, but I am going to listen to it. But the most of the ones I've listened to have said if he doesn't stick, that they believe it would be Florida State. I haven't seen any one of them all that worried, especially since Brian Hartline is still there. He didn't go anywhere. He didn't take a job. So I don't know. I guess we'll see.
When I saw that drama with Hartline dislike.
Yeah, I don't have the information you guys do on that. So that's just my 2 cents from talking to or listening and talking to Ohio State people. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he'd be a great guy to get in this class. I think he ends up in there at the end of the day. Hartline, whenever that shit went on with Keon Coleman and him disliking that stuff and all the rumors of the burners, trashing players and stuff, when that stuff happened, I don't know if that had any effect on that relationship or whatever, but my feeling that I got off of that thing, I don't know. I just see it happening. We'll see what happens. I could be wrong. I was probably wrong about the linebacker. He's probably going to end up at Ohio State. But one thing I said I was going to bring up that almost passed by, when you're talking about money and people getting pissed about this guy's just after money and they're this or this, that, I saw a podcast earlier today. I made a tweet about it, or an X or whatever the fuck you call it nowadays. But one of these biggest platforms out here, one of these people, they've been around forever. They're on all the shows. He gets out here and wants to compare a 5th or 6th year player in Malcolm Ray, who has stuck through this damn program through 2 or 3 different multiple coaching staffs, busted his ass, had a great year. He decides to test the waters, see if he can get some money or go be a star somewhere else. And they have the nerve to kind of compare that to the fact that the U.S. Government shouldn't negotiate with terrorists. Like, just to break down why this pisses me off so much, like, you don't negotiate with terrorists because they're so vile and inhumane and evil that you could never imagine them to negotiate in good faith. This is the whole meaning. That's like what that whole statement is about. So to compare that situation to a kid like Malcolm Ray, who is just a Knoll for life and just a great kid that's been in this program for 5 or 6 years, like I said, that really rubbed me the wrong way. And you'll never hear anything like that from anybody you see on this panel. These kids are just trying to make a better life for themselves. And if it's in the portal, which Malcolm Ray hasn't even entered yet, he's just put a tweet out there talking about he's probably going to do it. I wish him the best of luck, but I don't know if any of y'all want to comment on that bullshit.
Fuck Aslan.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Here's the fucked up part of this. So I see On 3, I see War Chant, which is part of On 3. I don't have a problem with War Chant. I don't watch them or listen to them, but I don't have a problem with them. I have a problem with dipshit comments or dumbass takes, but other than that, and I'll call anybody out on that, no matter who they are. Herb Street's a chicken shit, so it is what it is. He won't respond. I don't expect them to respond to me either. But I see them report that this kid's NIL worth is X. I've seen that kid's exact contract, and it ain't nowhere near what the fuck they're saying. Here's the issue. Malcolm Ray is who he was talking about. Malcolm Ray doesn't make near what people think he makes, the same way that Jared Verse, Keon Coleman, Jordan Travis, Trey Benson, and I can keep going. None of them make what you think they make. Like, people have got this whole facade around them that these kids are making millions or they're making neurosurgeon money, and it's not the case. Like, I'm going to be honest with you, the opportunity in the contract is for you to make X. Does not mean you're going to make X. You might end up with Y. There's certain levels to this shit that you got to understand, because even though I will say that the NCAA did a very good job with the very few rules that they did give. Now, they may not have done enough as far as the back roll goes as giving enough rules, but the 3 rules that they did give, they did a pretty damn good job with a clear ask and clear give being the best one that they did. Do you know how hard it is to justify giving a kid $200,000 or $300,000 for asking them to do a couple of videos? The NCAA don't buy it. Neither does the university. So it's extremely hard for these kids to make what they make. Here's another kicker for you. 98, not 92, not 91, not less, 98% of all NIL athletes, that is across the country, they get paid monthly based off of what they have done in that month. They do not get paid, here's 50 grand, sir. Spend it however you want to. That's not how this shit works. They can't do that, because if this young man ends up missing all of these events or missing whatever it is that their clear ask is of them, then they don't get to give. Like, that's how this works. So look at them like they're getting paid the same way that a teacher would get paid. They get paid once a month for what they do. Now, if you miss X amount of days, obviously your money isn't what it would be if you worked all those days, correct? So it's very simple to say that these kids make this. It's very simple to say that Cam Ward's asking for $2 million. What I will say is he did. He did ask for $2 million. And guess what happened? The market slapped his ass in the face and said, nobody's paying that. Quarterbacks are making X, and you're asking for this. Well, you might want to stay where you're at. If you're making anywhere close to that, do not leave.
Right.
So if y'all, and that's the other thing, Pat Payton, he stepped up and said, guys, I don't want to do this, but I might enter the portal. We'll just say some very good people outside of the Battle's End, outside of Florida State University, spoke some very good things to him in truth and showed him what is actually going on in the world of NIL, because they hear these things the same way that you do from people that are guessing, or they want to make it sound better or worse than what it is. The facts behind it, why they don't want to be transparent with it, I don't know. But I can't sit here and tell you what I know about Pat Payton's contract. I can't tell you what I know about Robert Scott's contract, because I'm legally not able to. And then I will get into serious fucking trouble. But I can tell you that it's not anywhere fucking close to what all these people are saying. It's not even, most of them not even 50% close to what people are saying. So I will tell you that the possibilities of a guy making $1 million is about as good as your chances of winning $1 million in the lottery. It might say that you can. It might say if you do all of these things, this could happen. But none of them have the time to do all of it, if we want to get down to the bit of reality.
Yeah.
So
well, you hit the nail on the head when you said it's like a clear ask, a clear give, and that's how they do this thing. It brought it kind of out of the back alley into the forefront. And just like any other business, just like this podcast, just like Spear Addicts, Plant the Spear, you get out what you put in. These dudes are playing football, they're going to school. They don't have time to do 3 or 4 interviews and different podcasts and all this stuff to make their brand necessarily worth whatever it may be. But they got a shot. A guy like what's the guy? He used to be committed to Florida State, went to Colorado and Jackson State, all the shit. But he's always, that fucker. But he's always online doing Twitch and all this stuff. So yeah, his NIL check is going to be a lump sum because he's marketed himself and done that. But yeah, Cam Ward just wanting to show up and play quarterback, or Pat Payton just wanting to play the end. They're just not going to give you these crazy things you hear about where it's a handshake and you get $1 million and that's it. You don't do nothing. Like Chris said, you go out there and you earn that money. That's what it's about. Also, if we're going to be on high school recruiting and talking about Jeremiah Smith and possible guys coming, KJ Bolden, Auburn, there's a flirtation there. It's been going on. Look, I'm not going to be like some of these other people, and maybe even Chris. He might be confident and tell you, no way in fucking hell he's going to Auburn. He's Florida State all the way. It is what it is. Look, I'm kind of a believer in what Hugh Freeze is doing over there. Ole Miss, Ole Miss, Auburn, they're going to make some waves. They're going to get their share of kids. We saw it, unfortunately, with Keldrick Falk last year. That was an Alabama guy, which is a little bit different, really a lot different.
How's he doing, by the way?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't see how his freshman year went, but he's a young guy.
George and I have a major disagreement on this Hugh Freeze situation, and I am in the total right here. Right.
She thinks, how many years do you give him over there in Auburn?
2.
2 years. So she thinks he's out after next year. Maybe one of you guys can settle that. I just think he's going to get it turned around.
By the way, after our conversation where you got really upset with me, what happened in that game?
Never
in New Mexico State.
Never upset with you.
What happened against New Mexico State, George? What happened? Hugh Freeze.
I'm not capping. I'm not capping for the 2023 Auburn thing.
It got his ass beat. Yeah. The only reason he even won games at Ole Miss is because he was cheating so bad. He actually got caught at Ole Miss, and they fired him.
What year was that for him? Was this his first year?
2017, 2018.
What happened to Mike Norvell in year 2?
He wasn't caught for cheating.
Okay. Well, no, I'm not going to talk about any of that kind of stuff. Look, I'm not caping for Hugh Freeze. He's got a history of issues. I'm just talking about the football program.
You cannot compare the last minute play against Jacksonville State to paying a team $2 million to compete your ass on national TV.
Well, I'm not going to get stuck on the wrong side of this thing because I agree. Okay, you're not going to have me argue that point.
Hey, Jen, I'll just say this: Hugh Freeze knows a thing or two about paying someone to come beat his ass. So
he likes it.
Exactly. He might have success there, man, because he knows how to play dirty, and Auburn's willing to pay for people when you look at what they did with Cam Newton. So
hey, look, I'm not saying he's not dirty. I'm just saying he's so dumb he gets caught.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing.
Like a burner phone, man. Come on, it's not that complicated. No, I agree. And George, the one thing I will say too about the Malcolm Ray situation is, these guys also have conversations with the staff, and they're going to tell them if you are a plan or you're still the plan B or C or D or wherever you fall on that list. And at the end of the day, I think it comes down to 2 things. From the player side, you have to go chase an opportunity because at some point that NIL check is going to be done because you're going to run out of eligibility. So you need to put film, you need to put snaps on film, and that may be at a G5 school. That may be the way he needs to go to get that snaps or something like that. And then also, this is something that I've heard Ingram talk about on other shows where they're not going to overpay for somebody. So they know what they're willing to spend. And, I said on our show, it was no disrespect to Pat Payton, but sometimes you got to put your name out there and get your feelings hurt. And then you come back to reality. They negotiate. You sit back down at the table a second time. I mean, how many people do you know that you work with that leave for a better job and then they end up coming back because the job sucked? You got to go test the market. And sometimes the market checks you and then you come back into reality. And again, it's all fair for kids to go out and do the things that they do and play for the big bag or whatever, if that's what they want to do. But, these NIL collectives, they talk and they're smart and they know what their budget is. They know what they're going to pay. And, if that's not going to match up, then they'll let them walk. And I'm thankful that they will do that. I don't want to hear about Florida State being that team that what was it that UF was going to pay the kid $13 million or something crazy like that? Like, I don't want to hear about that.
Yeah.
The whole Darren Heitner saga, that guy popped back up on Twitter. He's really gloating over the UF situation right now. I thought that was pretty funny.
Pat Payton.
So, Chris,
go ahead.
What do you think about KJ Bolden, though, Chris? I want to know what you think.
I mean, if people want honestly why he went to Auburn, I'll tell you why he went there.
$10,000.
No, I mean he got that, but no, that's not the reason. So the idea is he got some bad information. He was a weekend off of when he was supposed to show up, but you're going to see a bunch of kids go to Auburn this weekend. Like, I mean, a shit ton are going to go to Auburn. Why? Because they're playing USC in basketball, and LeBron James is going to be in the stands.
Oh, so KJ got fucked on that deal.
Well,
damn.
Here's the other thing. I will say this. Now, what Hugh Freeze is doing is very similar to the ass wipe down south. I don't have a problem with Hugh Freeze's ability to be a coach. I have his problem when he recruits. He is not a good recruiter. What I mean by that is not that he can't recruit high talent. It's the way he does it. So right now, Auburn, to 4 of the guys that are currently committed to Florida State and one that is not, but he's in between, have been offered double what anyone else has offered them. Here's the problem. Like I explained, show me the contract. Let me tell you how you're not getting this. Or let me tell you, hey, this is okay. If I were you, I'd fucking take it. Because I won't lie to the kid just to get him to come to Florida State. I won't. Believe it or not, I care more about the kids than I do us winning. And I know that sounds like blaspheming to the Florida State fans, but I'm just telling you the truth. If someone is willing to pay you X to come do the same thing you're going to do here, go get that money. That's just how I am.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, 360 contracts are real. And that's about 91% of everything that's in NIL right now. And these kids have no earthly idea what they're looking at. They just see a number and they go, shit, I want that. And that's about as far as it goes. But once we started getting into the depths with these young men and starting to get them to understand how you won't be able to do this to get this, or how this is going to be something you have to pay back. And yes, I said that. There is a multitude of kids that are down south that have been promised to be at least multi-100,000-aires, and they've made $75.
Oh yeah, that Life Wallet shit was woo-wee. I mean, we all saw it, but like, man, that thing blew up.
Here's my thing. I'm talking about their new one.
Yeah, I mean, currently, yeah. I'm just saying that after what happened last year, they better hope they can get that thing on track. Holy shit.
So do you think KJ can see through it, or do you feel like he's going to be okay?
The reason being is because of the conversation.
Sorry, guys.
I guess I just kind of wanted to hear what your takes were on him. I haven't seen him flip material. I mean, I guess it could be possible, but I just didn't get that. Yeah,
I'm so confident in KJ Bolden coming here. And here's the other thing: KJ and his family. I don't know if y'all have ever looked at his pictures when he's at home, or you've seen what they've got. But those people don't need money. Not that they won't take more money, but they don't need money. His mom and dad are looking at. Don't get mad at me, Kai, if this happens, but they're looking at houses the way they can come watch him play. They're not talking about renting one. They're talking about buying one. And that's been in the works for a while. And I'm not going to sit here and confirm nor deny if they've already bought one. But what I'm going to tell you is there's too many roots that have been planted in Tallahassee for me to worry about it.
Did you see the picture with him and Hugh Freeze, George? I hope it didn't get you too excited because
Jesus Christ, Jim. Fuck Hugh Freeze, okay? Fuck Auburn. I hate Auburn now.
Picture. He looked like a chipmunk.
Can't have
excited.
One take about one school. Jeez.
And KJ was like, he looked like this kid, like as a choir boy at church, like going, "Please get this priest away from me," and he was like all close. Yes, like if I would like, he would start snipping on my hair or something. Ugh.
Oh my goodness. I'll never live this
Sorry,
down.
George. I'm kidding. No,
It's
you're
all
not.
good. It's all good. I had the comment up there earlier about LJ McCray. That is one that I'll be happy to be wrong about as well. A guy who keeps popping his nose up in Tallahassee. I heard a few things from few different sources that I'm not going to repeat because I don't know if they were true. But I mean,
Repeat them. I'll tell you.
this, I'm just hearing that Florida State might have a shot, that they're making plans, and that, like, because when he came out and did all that stuff, tweeting about Florida State and all this stuff, when he made his original commitment to Florida, I came out and said, I was like, all right, man, he was obviously trolling us, doing all that shit. But apparently what I'm hearing is that no, he was a lot closer to committing that last time, but something, some I got crossed or something somewhere. And, but there's a good chance that gets back together, and he could be in Tallahassee sooner than later. But we'll see. I thought for sure it was over with. I thought he was trolling us, but apparently not.
So in the case of LJ McCray, if you'd asked me this 3 weeks ago, I'd have told you we've got about a 10% shot. But based off of the conversation and based off of his visit and what was said, I don't know who's got a better shot. And I don't mean as in a better shot of flipping him, a better shot of landing him. I don't feel like he's even committed to anyone right now, even though his verbal came out and it says he's verbally committed to Florida and all that good shit. It would not surprise me if it's right here close to the offseason, right after the bowl game, maybe before the bowl game for us, because they don't have one, but Florida, that is, if Billy Napier and Strickland get fired. Like, and I mean that in the most disrespectful way. I hope that they don't. Like, I've got extend Billy shirts, so please buy one before he gets canned. But
Billy Taggart.
Well, he's having a problem even hiring for the positions that are open. Am I wrong about that?
No, you're not wrong. He did make a good defensive back hire. But
got to give him that one.
Yeah.
Will Harris was a decent hire.
They also overpaid the shit out of him for it.
But didn't they have another player that the same thing, to where like they were committed to Florida, but they really weren't, and then they like flipped and committed somewhere else, all in the same graphic? So yeah, that would be nice if they had a repeat performance on that. Looks like Xavier Same, or however you pronounce it, he's pretty much a done deal. It looks like Texas. Look, man, if they fuck around and lose that quarterback,
I've heard there's some. I've heard that dude is actually, it's like Houston, A&M, and Clemson.
Man,
he's like gonna visit them. Yeah.
He would be just what the doctor ordered at Clemson for what they're trying to do over there. But
I think his family is friends with Elko at A&M, and also with Fritz, who was hired at Houston. So that's a huge connection there for him. And if he flips to Houston,
that would be a tough pill to swallow, to lose your quarterback to Houston. I don't know if he's been so prolific. They're used to it.
They're used to swallowing. I don't know about pills, but swallowing.
Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Well, you guys want to open up and take some calls and some questions before we get out of here? We're almost to an hour.
I will say one thing real quick on the Florida situation, though, man. I think the interesting thing about when you look at Florida, even if Billy makes it through this offseason and they don't make a change, they got like the third hardest schedule next year. There's a good chance they're only keeping him around one more year, because you don't want to bring in a new head coach into that type of schedule. So you let Billy ride it out. You have another bad year. You just signed your DC to a 3-year extension. Mike Norvell's on an extension. Just from a program stability point, if you want to commit somewhere that you trust that staff, you're not going to be changing coaches midway through your tenure there, Florida's not really a good place to commit right now, because I think pretty much all four of us here would agree that they're probably going to make a coaching change in the next couple of years, unless a miracle happens. And yeah, man, I think that's the stability to lock up Fuller and to lock up Norvell. I think that was big on the recruiting trail.
Oh, we didn't even talk about that. Right, because Fuller signing a 3-year extension. That's huge.
Right, and there was the smoke that Elko wanted him at A&M because he was an Elko guy, and so now you lock him up, which I think is good for your transfers. And right before signing day, you're like, look, let's squash that right now and get it over with. So yeah, man, stability. Florida State's got it going on right now.
James Coleman, if you're watching, we apologize. We did not bring up the Fuller D till almost an hour into this thing. But yeah, Adam Fuller, the Fuller D, is in Tallahassee to stay. I believe it came out to $1.8 million a year for 3 years. So 5.4 million or whatever it comes out to. That is huge, locking him up. I mean, you're talking about, I don't care what anybody says, that's a top 5 defense in the nation, and there's not a single offense in the country that I think this team couldn't have stopped with it at full hilt. And I don't think even anybody in the playoffs, I didn't see us putting up 30 points unless it was one of those things tit for tat. Like it's unreal what he was able to do the second half of that season. And people kind of thought it was, oh, well, you played a couple crappy teams. Well, no, you play a top 20 offense in Louisville and you do the same thing. I mean, you just completely held him to Brom's worst game in years, guys. Years.
Well, right. I had to let George know. I think when I found out that the Fuller stuff wasn't real, I had to send it to you. And he's like, what? And I was like, I have the most random people that I talk to. It's a weird situation I have going on over here. But yeah, that he was going to stay. And I've been such a Fuller fan, obviously, from Memphis. And it was a hard time for the first couple of years because I was getting a little thrown tomatoes at, like, stop, you're stupid, get back in the kitchen, all these things.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, it's fine.
Anybody that says some shit like that to Jen, they're going to have to fight me. And a lot of other people, too. I can take care of
myself, but I appreciate it. I don't know that any of these weirdos would say anything, to your face. I don't think. But
burners.
Yeah. So with Fuller, I love Fuller. That was a huge pickup and ability to keep. But I don't even think he was ever going anywhere. From what I got.
No.
And George, I sent that to you. They didn't even have any idea where that rumor came from because even though it was reached out to, he basically said, yeah, no, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah. And the same thing with Mike Norvell. He's not like Jimmy Sexton is like, he's the dude. He's the baddest mojo out there. When Fisher was here, he was asking for raises every year because that's what he wanted Sexton to do for him. Mike Norvell doesn't want Sexton doing that to FSU, so he's not. They have a happy accord. Good. And sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Jesse.
No, I was just going to say that, yeah, I mean, even if he wasn't planning on going anywhere, you can't be mad at him for maybe playing the market a little bit, and for Florida State for locking him up. I mean, when they locked Norvell up, I mean, it was after a 10-3 season, and now you got 13-0. So they kind of got ahead of the curve there to lock him up. And so I think that, it was smart by them to go ahead and take care of it. But, I will say one thing, man, talking about the Big Ten and when you're talking about our defense that I find interesting is because I made the same argument. I felt like, could we score enough to win a playoff game? That remains to be seen. But could our defense have kept us in any playoff game? 100%. I am very confident in that, the way they were playing and getting Daryl Jackson back. But what's interesting, man, is like nobody wants to talk about Michigan's defense. And, of course, they're the number 1 defense in the country. But when I went and looked it up, they played 7 offenses ranked 100th or below.
That's so, like, I'm
telling you, dude, I think Alabama's going to smack Michigan in the playoffs. I think they're going to be in for a rude awakening. You see what happened when they played, the better defenses in the Big Ten, Penn State, Ohio State. They gained less yards against Iowa than Florida State did with a true freshman third-string quarterback. So they played a bunch of offenses, terrible offenses all year. Man, I think they're in for a little bit of a rude awakening. And even then, like I think Michigan, I think Florida State has as much a case to be in the playoffs as them. I mean, they beat Penn State, who was ranked high. Go look at their schedule. Who's Penn State beat? And then
nobody.
Then they beat Ohio State at home, but Ohio State was a tight game against Notre Dame, and Louisville smacked them, and you beat them with a true freshman quarterback. So yeah, I think Michigan is going to get another. I think they're going to get put out in the first round again this year. That's just my 2 cents on that.
I don't think anybody. I'm not understanding this. Texas is automatically in BS that I've been hearing.
No, 100%.
I'm sorry. They beat an Oklahoma State team that was ranked, 24, 25?
Right.
Who lost to San Diego State, who lost to UCF badly.
Yep.
Are we kidding right now? So they go in and they, beat them by 2 touchdowns. Great. Good job, Texas. And by the way, their star wide receiver was hurt in that game and sitting on the sidelines in crutches. I'm surprised they weren't, said they weren't good enough to play anymore, but that's fine. Again, they barely beat like Houston and all these other crappy
TCU, yep.
teams. They
That shit
lost to a
only
worse team in
counts Florida
Oklahoma.
State. It only counts against us, Jen. You know that.
And by the way, I honestly think that I'm surprised that the College Football Playoff Committee actually didn't just leave Florida State at 3 and say Alabama at 4. Texas, your loss is worse than Alabama's loss. Sorry.
Well, if they weren't already locked into being the SEC, that probably would have happened. But
That's what I'm
unfortunately,
saying. And so everybody's like, well, Texas was already in. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I think if Georgia had beaten Alabama, I think Florida State still would be out, but I think the 4th team was going to be Alabama.
I was just going to read this comment real quick. He's talking about Fuller 3 years ago and all the people bashing him and stuff, especially at the beginning of the year. Not on this channel, not on Spear Addicts, not Jen, not Plant the Spear. We've recognized what we had, but go ahead.
Man, I was going to agree with Jen. I think Texas is the team you leave out here because here's my issue with Texas. So you can say that Florida State is a different team now, right? Because they don't have Jordan Travis. Well, think about the Alabama that Texas beat in week 2. They benched Milroe. They went on the road and they beat UCF, a 6-6 AAC team, 17-3, tied at 3 late in the third quarter. Then they beat Kansas. Well, Jalen Daniels wasn't playing in that game, so they had their backup quarterback. So that's another one of their ranked wins was against a team with their backup. And then they lose to Oklahoma. And then you have close games against Iowa State, close games against TCU. Then you mentioned Oklahoma State. Everybody's like, okay, they're number 20. They got their ass beat by South Alabama.
They almost lost to Houston. They almost lost to Houston.
Right. They got beat 33, I think it was to 7 by South Alabama. So, like, how is that a better – everyone talks about Louisville lost to Pitt. That's different than South freaking Alabama. So to me, and I'll kick back
conference games, they aren't tough losses when they're in the ACC, buddy. That's only the SEC.
Right, but I'll throw it back to you. I'll make one quick point. Everybody brings out the whole Florida State's opponent win-loss record. That's the thing that everybody brings up. Well, here's why that's a flawed system, and here's also why I think you could use this to justify that Texas is out. So Alabama played Chattanooga, an FCS school. They're 8-5, went to the FCS playoffs. Florida State played North Alabama, an FCS team, 3-8. So you're thinking, okay, Chattanooga is obviously a better team. They're 8-5. They went to the FCS playoffs. Well, North Alabama beat them by 2 touchdowns the first week of the season. So that's plus 5 wins towards Alabama's win-loss record and -3 or whatever to Florida State's, but you have a team that beat them by 14 on the field. So how do you quantify based off an opponent win-loss record who's the better team when the other team won the head-to-head, which is why I think you could also say, oh, all right, you beat a struggling Bama team who was trying to find their footing, Texas. I'm sorry, it wasn't enough. And so I think that's why, the head-to-head matters too, man. And that's was my point on that. There's some flawed systems being used to justify Florida State not being in the playoffs.
It really is. And I think at the end of the day, when they went in that Saturday and Florida State's ranked at 4.
Blessed.
Yeah. And ranked at 4. And Texas is ranked at 7, played a lower ranked team than what Florida State did, who was ranked by that same committee, by the way, beats that team, holds them to the least points they've ever had all year. And then they're like, well, you know what? We're going to jump this team up 4 spots. No big deal.
Yeah. It's a joke, man. We all know this team is a playoff team.
Look, Texas fans, y'all can all, if you can come after me with your little horns and your little weirdo shit that you do. I don't care.
Your little horns and your poker.
The only reason you're in is because they wanted Alabama to be in, and they couldn't justify bringing Alabama in without bringing your sorry ass.
Yeah, no doubt. There's no doubt about it. It's a bunch of bullshit. Kev with a comment here. And guys, remember, those phone lines are open. If you want to get a call in, text your question in. We're going to be on here for another 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is, whenever these guys want to get out of here. Antitrust lawsuit against the college football playoff. And I'll pull up that tweet. But yeah, we hadn't talked about this story. I think we kind of pushed it till later. Has anybody seen this story? I forget her name. I believe Anita something other else. She's the let me actually pull it up so I don't mess it up. But she's
You're talking about the Attorney General?
Yeah, the Attorney General has filed, working on filing some kind of antitrust litigation against the college football playoff. I think it's more of a thing just to get some discovery, find out some kind of anything, any kind of reason why they did what they did.
You know what they're going to discover? Because the lawsuit will go through. You know what they're going to discover, right? What they're going to discover.
Hold for 1 second, please.
Florida State was never getting in. Like, that's all. Like, I'm sorry, but when Alford,
right.
the AD, drug his nuts in the ACC and ESPN space. If you go back and watch the episode before the season started in August, I said it clearly. I love that we're doing this, even if it's going to cost us getting into the playoffs, even if we go undefeated. Because
Absolutely.
it's about money. And they're not going to let us make more money when they're pissed off at us. Like, we lost millions of dollars from not getting into the college football playoffs. So we were never getting in, guys. Like, and everybody's like, well, then why'd they keep us at 4? That's what I get most of the time. Or why'd they move us up to 3 at one time? Well, if you're going to crush somebody, are you going to do it week 1, week 3, week 9? Or are you going to do it right at the last second so it really hurts? You give everybody the opportunity to hope. So,
yeah.
Well, we got us. Sorry to cut you off there, Jesse, but we got our first caller here.
Okay, I got you.
I've had him on hold for a little while. What do you got for us, man? You got any questions about the playoff or what we're talking about here, bud?
Yeah. First of all, man, my name's Z from Cincinnati, Ohio. I am a Ohio State Buckeye fan. But I've been watching you guys' show, and I definitely support Florida State. I mean, y'all got true rich history, and y'all kick ass, man. So, shout out to Florida State. So my question here is this. Well, first off, I hate how they did y'all. That was some bullshit. They should have never excluded y'all. It feel like they punished y'all for going above and beyond, because y'all faced a whole lot of distractions and adversity, and y'all overcame that. So y'all deserve to be in the playoff one. But the other thing is this. Have y'all heard anything about Florida State coming to the Big 10? Man, we would love to have y'all guys in there. The history, the athletes, everything about Florida State fits perfectly within the Big 10. And I heard that y'all was supposed to be coming maybe soon in January, but I'm not sure. Maybe you know something more than I. And keep doing a good job with y'all show, man.
Absolutely, man. We appreciate it. And I'm going to hang up here and kind of address your question. We sure appreciate you. Yeah, man. Actually, I know you probably just jumped in here pretty late. The first kind of 20 minutes, I think 25 minutes, we went into it. But yeah, we 100% believe that Florida State is headed to the Big 10. And by 2025, hopefully Ohio State is one of the first teams on the list. I know we got y'all we're 0-3 against us so far, but that was a long time ago. We really appreciate the respect and you guys watching and supporting. But yeah, if you could see Florida State, Ohio State, Florida State, Michigan, we can't wait to see those matchups. And damn what everybody says about traveling. But yeah, we talked about that for a good while at the beginning of the show. Also, got to get in here. Totally Noel with the $10 super chat. We really appreciate you, man. Thanks for a good show. Very informative and entertaining. Go Knowles. And sorry to cut you off there, Jesse. I just had him on hold forever. But yeah,
you're good, man.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that people forget too when they talk about the conspiracy theories or whatever you want to say about how Florida State got left out. People say that, well, Florida State's in the ACC, which is owned by ESPN2, but you're feeding one filet mignon and you're feeding the other one hamburger steak. So you know what I mean? They're going to take care of the brand that they're paying a lot more money. But yeah, man, I definitely think too, talking about just the Big 10, like we can, if I just want to talk about some things I think that are exciting as well, man. I know it's a little bit longer distance, but one of the things that I would be most excited about getting out of the ACC, besides all the things we know that our program needs to succeed, money and all that stuff, is like the matchups now. This is probably one of the lamest things about the ACC. Now, I love some of the brands in the ACC. I love Virginia Tech. I hate that they've fallen on hard times. I really wish that program was at its peak because I think that's a fun brand with a good fan base. Clemson's about your only other one there, but you may have more teams travel into Doak now. So when you have a big game between Michigan and Florida State or Ohio State against Florida State or Penn State,
a home game with Ohio State,
right? Like if you can pack in, 10,000 people into Doak from the opposing fan base, that's going to be fun.
Someone's ringing my doorbell. They won't stop. I'll be right back.
You're good. You're good.
Sorry.
If you're not back in 5 minutes, we'll come looking for you.
Yeah, we're flying to Memphis and make sure you're all right.
But no, man, I think there's some really exciting matchups there, and I think just having those opposing fan bases that because I mean, let's face it, Syracuse, Boston College, Virginia, Georgia Tech, none of those fan bases are very large, and none of them really travel like that. And and I'll say this, George, and Chris, we're being media members too, trying to grow our channels and outlets like that. The bigger the fan bases you get, the more it's going to grow. Because I tell you what, man, you take a shot, and I found this out at LSU week. Like, you take a shot at an SEC team, holy cow, dude! It's like this playoff talk, man. It's been a war zone in our comment section, and it has been absolutely bonkers. So, like, I'm excited about it too. I just think, like, the ACC was fun while it lasted, but you just have so many brands that just don't put enough into football that any conference you go to, SEC or Big 10, it's going to be good for the school. It's going to be good for the fan base. It's going to be good for the outlets that cover those. And that's why I'm excited about getting up out of here.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
I'm going to say what Chip said real quick, George. It's real short.
Yeah, go ahead.
I went the long way around this last night in our episode, and he did it the short way. Pretty much summed up what I was saying. What's going to be really cool about being in the Big 10 is it's going to have the independent feel, but the national movement of going to the big house, the horseshoe, but you're going to feel like you've been unhandcuffed.
Dude, that's such a good take. Holy shit. Because you've got Oregon and Washington and these other teams too. So, yeah.
USC is going to be in it. Like Florida State versus USC, Florida State versus Oregon rematch, Florida State versus Washington for that matter, because them now being in the college football playoff. Like, it's just the games are bigger, man. Like, people don't want to believe it, but it's just a bigger deal. Like, I want to be in Penn State at a whiteout game when Florida State's playing. I'm sorry.
I want to be that Garnet fucking speck over there, 10 rows up.
Trying to mess up the whiteout.
Yes.
Those would be some nuts games.
Right. And I will say too, man, one thing, I did some research last year on like Florida State's branding and the TV stuff. And I noticed that when you look at the ACC, I want to say it was like the third most watched ACC team was around 43rd in the country, which was, I think, NC State. And there was about 80% of SEC teams and Big 10 teams that rank above like the number 3 team in the ACC in viewership. So like they want to clamor all they want. You just don't bring the numbers. And that's what Florida State made the case for this offseason. Like Chris said, they don't care if they pisses them off because they know they have to do what's best for Florida State in the long run, not for the ACC. And I mean, if you want, like, just look at the leadership of the conferences too. You have one that goes out and makes 3 dead fish ads. You know what I mean? Maybe SMU's decent, but like Cal and Stanford, like why? And so, you just look at the leadership. Yeah, even
it kills the travel argument right there. You add those 3 teams, and there's zero travel argument.
Right, and even if you talk about the SEC, I mean, as much as you may or may not want to go, like Sankey was on the TV campaigning for his playoff teams. Like, where's the ACC commissioner? Where's Jim Phillips? So
to me, it's duck.
Right,
he's a lame fucking duck. That's all.
It's at least getting in a conference that has confident and strong leadership, because when they go to renegotiate these TV contracts with the addition of all these teams, I mean, there's going to be big, crazy money, and you trust those commissioners to get things done for their schools. And the fact is, I don't trust the ACC commissioner to do anything forward thinking or anything like that. I mean, this conference they continue to shoot themselves in the foot repeatedly.
What's his name? The previous ACC commissioner. He killed it, and they brought this Jim Phillips guy in just to ride it through. He's just a lame duck. But we had another text question come in. We haven't talked much about the Orange Bowl today, so this is a pretty good one to bring up. Is any other starter other than Johnny Wilson not playing in the Orange Bowl? As far as I know, other than Johnny Wilson, Keon Coleman has opted out. I think Jared Verse is playing. I'm pretty sure Pat Payton is playing. Have you guys heard anything about any other players besides Keon opting out?
Did Keon opt out? I guess I missed that official.
I don't think he officially has.
Okay.
But now if you take the thank you Florida State post on Instagram, we're in trouble because that's half the team. But if not, officially, Johnny Wilson is the only one I've seen. And I will say, from the other side of the aisle, I was reading an article the other day about opt-outs because I'm trying to see what Georgia has. You know what I mean? Like how many they have opt-out. Because a lot of you don't know this. I'm related to and married to all Georgia fans. So, if, I'm going to be getting barked at by grown adults while we watch this game.
Oh,
So I was looking at their side too. And what they said was Kirby said basically after the SEC championship week, they give everybody the week off. And then when they come back, they have those conversations and you're either in the boat or you're out of the boat. So I think you will see more of that come out this week and next week, who's going to be available and who's not, because it probably works the same for Florida State. So they'll have those conversations, and then I think you'll hear more names broke. But right now, I haven't even really heard too many at all from Georgia side either.
What about Bless Harris? Like, he's entering the portal. Is he gone? Like, those, I guess he could kind of be considered a part-time starter that might not be here, if you count Bless Harris as a starter. But yeah, besides that, we had also started talking about the damn lawsuit. I said I was going to read that text, that tweet that Moody sent out the Attorney General, but I just we got sidetracked. We got a phone call there.
Oh, did I miss one?
Yeah, while you were ringing the doorbell, we had one, I believe.
It was my Instacart. I'm sorry. I told them to leave it at the door, but they wouldn't stop ringing the doorbell.
What did we order? What did you get for us?
I'm not going to say.
You're not going to say? Okay. We had to tell me afterwards.
No, I'm kidding. It's like milk. It's food. It's no big deal.
Oh,
Actually,
no.
she said, the Attorney General, that is, that she is a lifelong Gator, but I'm also the Florida Attorney General. I know injustice when I see it. That is why we are fighting for hashtag Unconquered at FSU football team and demanding answers from the College Football Playoff Selection Committee. And Florida merit matters. If it's attention they were looking for, the CFP committee certainly has our attention now.
Let's go.
I kind of like it. And I understand what people are going to say. This is frivolous. It's not going anywhere. I disagree.
Yeah, right.
And I think
I don't think it's going anywhere, but I'll tell you why in a minute. Go ahead.
I think it's about discovery. I think this is about discovery, and it's about either embarrassing ESPN, embarrassing the College Football Committee, making them look corrupt. And that is exactly what it is. It's asking for emails, text messages, phone calls, anything that could have happened. And by the way, now that they've subpoenaed it, they're going to get it.
So
That's
you know
the
what
problem.
happens. You know what
With
happens.
antitrust, absolutely. That can turn into a federal case if it gets bad enough. And that's the problem. That's where they fucked up.
They did. They most definitely have fucked up. And it could go that exact route, but it won't. Here's why.
Well,
here's why. Hold on. It's good for us, I promise.
Yeah, I know.
Here's why. Because Florida State's going to say, look what we found. And the ACC and ESPN and everybody's going to say, you can get out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Here's your settlement. Don't say a word. Shut your mouth.
Yeah, they'll offer a settlement off this because, like you just said, the antitrust, you violate that with the state in this way like that. That can become, especially costing this much money, that can become a federal charge. It's no longer civil anymore. So, yeah, I like it. Bring it on.
If they can find that shit with the where they were talking to the Big 12 teams and trying to get them to leave the Big 12 so they could dissolve that grant of rights, knowing that the ACC grant of rights that Swofford effed us by getting into is modeled off of that one. Oh boy, I mean, all they have to find is just one link in that chain, and that's it. Bam, like y'all said.
I think what they're looking for is the links between ESPN and the College Football Committee discussing teams to be kept in. Right.
Anything suggesting that they have any actual say so in directing the committee on what to do.
Because that's cost the city, the school, the state money. That's why they can bring in that antitrust. And that's where they get those really good subpoenas. That's the issue. When you file something on antitrust, because it can have federal implications, you can get so much more than you can if it's just a regular civil, like frivolous lawsuit. And even though they say this is a civil subpoena, because it has that antitrust behind it, it's technically not, because it can turn into a federal one real quick. That's the problem.
All the way to the Supreme Court. I love it.
Is this going to get you into the playoffs? No.
No.
But is this going to get you possibly out of the ACC?
Yes.
It might. So it's, at the end of the day, it's not going to right the wrong that happened, but it's going to help you get to where that wrong doesn't happen again. So by all means, originally a lot of this is probably political posturing. They know it's good for attention on social media, but at the same time, if that means they kick open a few doors and it benefits Florida State in the end, well, hey, I'm all for it.
I also like if they're going to embarrass ESPN, because I'm all for that right now.
Big fact.
Those grown man crying on TV, Florida State fans are being mean to me, is so ridiculous.
I said the other day, man, I hope Osceola and Renegade ride out to the 50 on the Orange Bowl and plant a Fox Network flag and then ride off and just like let that be our announcement.
Oh man, K-Camp, get on it, get ready, man, because I know they're gonna have some kind of fire ass edit whenever it happens. Whenever the announcement gets made, oh, it's happening. Keith Quass with a question: Boo Corrigan's committee chairman, his brother is a big shot ESPN exec. I believe he's a VP of communication or VP of media, something like that. Could this be a reason for the anti-FSU propaganda? Personally, I think that was there long before that guy was in that position or whatnot, but I don't know how much that played into this year. I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
Again, I've been saying this for this entire season that these two were brothers and that it's set up well. Man, look, if anybody believes that ESPN, and this is because these two talk, that ESPN did not know every week who the top 4 teams were or who the whole top 25 were before they say they do. They know who's where, when, how, why it changed. Look, these guys aren't that fucking smart. Okay, first off, they don't just top off at the dome, say, well, I think this happened because of this, and this, and they have this whole segment put together for it. The shit's rehearsed. I've watched them. Trust me.
Oh yeah.
They are a bunch of fucking hobbits that are told what to do, and they do as told because they're bought and paid for. They're going to do what they're told. Paul Feinbaum today had a Florida State fan. I don't know who was screening these calls, but she's a dipshit. A Florida State fan
Was it Karen?
And the fan asked the question, how come with Alabama, they won against USF. They won against this team. They just won against Auburn. But when it came to Florida State, it wasn't good enough. He couldn't answer the question, and he answered the question with this: I'm just a talking head. I don't know anything. I'm basically what he said is I'm a fucking puppet, and I do as I'm told and say what I get told to say. And that's all of them. It don't just stop with Paul Feinbaum. Now, he might be the most ignorant, but they all maybe excluded. Look, this is my eyes. A lot of people think that ESPN kicked Pollock off. What if Pollock left? What if Pollock said, I'm not being part of that shit? What
Very
if
possible.
this was talked about before all of this shit took place? And Pollock's like, wait a minute. Y'all about to fuck a team? Because if you go watch what Pollock said on his own show before the season started, watch what he says. Pay attention to the things in between what he's saying because it makes a whole lot of sense. And when me and him have talked, we've talked about it. This shit goes much deeper than just, well, Florida State didn't win by enough points. Well, Florida State lost Jordan Travis. I love listening to people give reasons why Texas shouldn't be in or why Alabama shouldn't be in or even Washington and Michigan. I'm telling you, the truest facts. And I know it sounds, people might look at me and say that dude's a conspiracy theorist. That's what he is. And I'm fine with that. I don't really give a fuck. But you don't know what I know. And I understand. It's not whatever. Here's the point. These motherfuckers knew what they were going to fucking do before it all happened. But how can they do that? They can't prove that Alabama and Texas and Washington and Michigan are going undefeated or lose only one game. You're 100% correct. But they bet their asses that Florida State couldn't go undefeated. They put 13 in front of us and 13 failed. So it took 13 asshats in a room to write them off with a pen. They weren't letting us in. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter if we'd have beat them 55-0 every team that we played, and Jordan would have been healthy. they would have pulled the same shit, and then it would have been even more egregious, and then we would have had there would have been even more of us would be pissed off at a higher level. But the facts are the facts. Winning is winning, and when you win 13 games in a row, I don't care if you do it by a point or if you do it by 100, it goes in the column as a win. And that this whole eye test shit.
Oh my God!
Look, my eyes have told me some things that are lies a lot of times, and the committee, if those are the people that you're trusting with the eye test, I don't know if you've looked at them lately.
Did they have beer goggles on? Were they fucking drunk in the room?
Here's the truth. Here's the truth about them. 8 of them have had cataract surgery, and they need more.
Oh, Lord.
The other 4 are alcoholics. And this is proven. They've all gotten DUIs. I'm telling you the truth.
Wow. Are we saying Kirk did?
So they are drunk while watching because they don't know what they're watching. And if the only 2 coaches that were in there, which both sucked, by the way, they were horrible coaches in my opinion.
Jim Grove,
terrible coaches in my opinion. Like she just So when those are the people,
I'll call it. Sorry, that's all. I don't care.
That
Baylor said, "Who's the worst guy we can hire just to get the fucking media off of us for a year?" Jim Grove.
It is what it is. It was a sham from the get-go. It was a sham 10 years ago. And here's like y'all act like this didn't happen to us 2013. The eye test said we didn't face adversity.
Oh yeah.
2014, we faced too much adversity. Now this year, y'all just don't look like you can win in the college football playoff.
Mm-hmm.
But we have 13
Washington didn't look like
right.
They told us Washington was favored by Oregon was favored by 10 over Washington twice. So again, you just shouldn't even played.
Right. And, it's something that like I brought up that I'm sure everybody knows about on social media that would set a few things on fire. But, if you think about it, ESPN has a $3 billion media rights deal going in with ESPN and the SEC that was signed in 2020. It goes into place 2024. Who else is going to be an SEC member in 2024? Texas. So you snuck in 2 of your biggest brands there, one now and one in the future. So that looks good as well. And, when you talk about these guys work for Disney. So at the end of the day, you're a character in the play. And, I don't know how many people, like I've worked for a corporation for 10 years now outside of the job with Plant the Spear and stuff like that. It's like, man, these corporate executives, when it comes down to money, they will sell their own mother. And you think that, if you think that they won't rig some college football games for a few $1 million, trust me, it is not beyond a shadow of a doubt. And, I will say the other thing too, like when you talk about who can get in and who can get out, and you can poke holes in everybody's record pretty much. The other thing that they turned to was the strength of schedule, which, I got a show I'm going to do Thursday that I'm going to do a deep dive into strength of schedule. I've been really looking into it, and no one really has a set formula. So there is some subjectivity to strength of schedule. So everyone just shoots out, but you're 55th strength of schedule. You don't deserve to be in. Well, everybody thought Oregon was okay with getting in with the 52nd strength of schedule.
Go see who's number one. Number one.
But so I did some looking, and I've spent days doing this research, like a college final paper or something like that. And when you look at this, like, man, and I'll just give you a hint on some of these numbers. So the ACC in your out of conference has scheduled the most Power 5 teams of any of the Power 5 conferences. They played the most ranked games out of conference of any of the Power 5 conferences. And when you look at the out of conference records against ranked teams, the Big 10 is 1-3, the Big 12 is 1-3, the Pac-12 is 2-2, and the SEC is 3-6. So it's like when you start really looking, and I got about 50 more numbers than that on each conference. But when you start looking at it, it's like, man, there's so much subjectivity that's going into that. Like Chris said, you can't tell me that they passed the eye test and Florida State didn't. It's like I talked about with Michigan. They had the number 1 defense, but they played 7 offenses ranked 100th or below. And you're like, all right, well, they got to play them tough Big 10 defenses. Well, I went out and calculated what they scored against out-of-conference defenses. It's within a point. So it's not like they're just struggling because they play these dominant defenses. No, man, it's bullshit, because I think when you look at it, the ACC has the most bowl, and I'm not sticking up for the ACC, I promise you that. The most bowl teams. Again, you look at, they got the hardest out of conference that they played. When you look at the amount of Power 5 teams compared to G5 and FCS, they played the most. They also play Notre Dame, who doesn't count as a ACC team, but that was 6 ranked games against the ACC. So, man, they're going to do what they got to do to make sure at the end of the year the narrative is going to fit.
Chris nailed it. He said they know exactly what they're going to do at the end of the year. Can they just say no college fucking football? We're putting these 4 teams in. No, but here's what they can do. They can see FSU as a threat, and they can paint the narrative from Jump Street that the ACC is this Group of 5 conference and they don't play the competition. They can paint the narrative all year long that, oh, even though the Pac-12 is going away, all of a sudden, even though we give them no fucking respect at all ever. Well, Pac-12 is the best conference in the land this year all of a sudden. In the Big 12, even though we give them no fucking respect ever, they're great now that all their teams are going to the Big 10 and the SEC. So they just painted that narrative. And like Chris said, they were waiting for a loss. Well, the fucking loss didn't happen. Like you said, 13,
Right.
They couldn't beat us with 13 teams, so 13 teams beat us. And that's just exactly what it is. They painted the fucking narrative, and that's the thing that pisses me off about Kirk Herbstreit. Everybody started sharing this thing from last week on Friday when he went on Pat McAfee Live, where he says, these FSU fans want to bitch and complain, but, they're just mad because they don't like facts, yada, yada, yada. And it's like, what? No, we're giving you the facts. You fuckers have been painting subjectivity and
Right.
opinions on the bullshit all year long, so that now when it comes time to put the teams in, you can say, "Oh, look, yeah, I told you." See, FSU, they're in the ACC. They don't play the same competition. Yada 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 yada. It's just they're getting their come up. It's not they thought this shit was gonna go away quick, but
They
it's
really
not.
did.
It's not.
You know why their vision's blurry with the committee and also the ESPN analysts? Their vision's blurry because they take ESPN cock to the eye. So it blurs the vision.
Yeah.
That's why they needed the surgery. It just didn't work. And you top it off, man. Like here's the sad part of the politics of this, that we have politics inside of college football. We have for a while, but it's getting deeper because of the money that's at risk. Okay. So you can believe what you want to about politics in the world, let alone in the United States. But the moment that we stop deciding what happens in between the chalk lines and we started paying more attention to what people that have never played this game, people that don't know what it takes to have integrity, people that don't know what it takes to bleed, sweat, and cry on those fields, of what it takes to actually win 13 football games, regardless of what conference you're in. When those people have no idea what that takes, tell you that you're not worthy of this. It's the same thing as a plumber telling an electrician how to do their job. It doesn't work. It doesn't add up. It doesn't make any sense. And that's why when I hear all of the other analysts, the other podcasts, even CBS and Fox try to argue what happened, we're trying to find holes in the wrong places. And I understand why you want to, because I don't want to believe the shit either. I don't want to believe that it's corrupt. I don't want to believe that these people were just set out to say, Florida State, you're not getting in. Doesn't make a fuck what you do. Because I'm going to tell y'all this, and this probably wasn't known by most. Do y'all know that the SEC and also the Pac-12 and also ESPN even said, well, yeah, maybe check that out, that they were told that Florida State needed to be checked for tampering? That's where this started. And they were trying to get us on that shit first before the season ever started. We were
tampering with whom?
Huh?
Tampering with whom, though? Like, I mean, I'm just asking, like, who did they think we were tampering with? Probably Keon Coleman, maybe.
Jared Verse, for instance, was one from last year. They was also talking about us tampering with Keon Coleman.
I knew that. Yeah, I didn't hear that.
But they threw it. They tried to throw it into the depths of that Florida State needs to get in trouble while the season's going, so that they can get basically damned out. You cannot play in the college football playoff because you've been caught tampering.
One question. The one person I had heard that maybe said that, or was the coach that was whining about the Keon Coleman thing. Is it true that it was Brian Kelly?
It is.
That's what I thought.
It's 100% true. Luckily I was part of the people that were receiving this information to put it out. And I was completely blown away by the fact that it was Brian Kelly, really, but now I understand it. He's gotten his ass whooped by us, 2 years in a row. I get it.
It kills him. It's killing him. I don't know if he can sleep at night. I think his eyes are just like going like this at night. It's crazy.
It is. But
him and his family.
I mean, look, man, Whether people want to believe it or not, whether you want to sit here and this is why you have to get out. You have to become one of the two powers. You have no choice in the matter. And I've told people this from the beginning, and I'll leave it at this as far as going to the Big 10. You don't go hire the president of Harvard who knows how to get the AAU membership. You do not go hire athletic director Michael Alford, who is best friends with the multitude of committee members of the Big 10 and who also know how it runs in and out, who was also asked to be a committee member of the Big 10 at one time when he was at Dallas. So this was set up a long time ago because Florida State, the university itself, the committee members of the university said the ACC does not respect us. Hell, they don't even respect themselves. So we've known this for a while. The grant of right stuff came out because Florida State wanted it to. This shit was set up so long ago that people don't even understand. We talked about this ad nauseum 3 years ago, and nobody paid attention to it because Florida State wasn't good yet. We weren't winning yet. We only had 3 wins the season before, so nobody cared what any of the coaches or any of the ADs or committee members were saying because we weren't winning yet. Now, look, Alford said, Norvell, fucking win so we can get this shit rolling. So he starts fucking winning. The second we get a 10-win season, bam, everybody hears that the grant of rights is trying to hold Florida State to the ACC, but we're dragging our nuts on their faces because we don't want to stay. Why do you think you heard about it then? Because we were fucking winning. And that's when people pay attention. People come when we win. We spend when we win. So when's the best time for this to come out? When we win. We won. We drug our nuts before the season of going 13-0. And now you have 2 great points to argue in court on how you can get out of this bullshit. You can look at it however you want, but the facts have been there for 3 years. They've been there the whole time. So that's my piece on the Big 10.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely key. We had a great comment somebody texted in here. They said, and this is something I forgot to mention. It's something that we had, like you said, since 10 years ago, the first playoff. You knew FSU wasn't in when you seen the fucking reporter they sent to Tallahassee. Some fucking sideline reporter you've never even fucking heard of. Meanwhile, Marty Smith is at Alabama. Who the fuck you think's getting in? Bastards. Yep. And that's just a spit in the face, you know?
Yeah, and I think, too, when you talk about back on game day before Jordan even got hurt, when they started painting the picture, I think they knew that Georgia was beatable, and they saw the situation setting up. So, and look, let's be honest. Florida State caught some bad breaks this year. Jordan Travis got injured. Tate got a concussion. You didn't get a chance to see him again in the Louisville game. You know, Louisville shit the bed against Kentucky. You had a lot of things that worked against you at the end of the season. But, you know, if you're looking for a reason to swap somebody, I mean, unfortunately, it played out the way where you greased the wheel for them to make the move. And it just it happened to work out in their favor. And, you know, to me, like when I look at Florida State in the playoffs, I said something the other day that it all boils kind of down to this. When the committee talked about, well, we didn't feel they could win a championship. You know, football games are decided on a field, not in a boardroom. And at the end of the day, if you look at Florida State or any other team for that matter, and you go, can they win a championship? And you answer that with anything besides, I don't know. You're part of the problem because you don't know. Games are not decided by Vegas point spreads, which everybody likes to say like, oh, you would be an underdog against every team in the playoffs. Well, no shit. We were going to be the 4 seed anyway. So you're going to be the underdog anyway. Like Jen pointed out. I mean, Oregon was a favorite. They lost. Georgia was a favorite. They lost. Louisville was a favorite. They lost. So you told all those teams that they couldn't win and they did it anyway. The problem is the committee didn't take the approach of could they win? Let's give them a chance. Because at the end of the day, Florida State had 13 reasons that showed you why they can go in and win against any team you put in front of them. The other 2 teams that jumped them didn't have that same resume. So you should have let it play out on the field.
Look, football is – go ahead, Chris.
You know, Vegas told me 4 times was an underdog. Florida State.
Yeah.
They were wrong 4 times. And just in my team's eyes. So, and the other thing that you brought up that I like – I don't want. I'm gonna keep it PG, I think. But, okay. So yeah, how
let it rip, Chater Chip. It's okay. Fuck it. Just let it rip.
How would I point this out? Okay. So I agree with you on this, and it's great points as far as we did grease the wheel. If you look at it from that side, I think it's more impressive to go win with your third string in an ACC
100%.
championship than it is with doing it with Jordan Travis. I
Right.
think with beating your rival with a backup in their home is more impressive than going in. You're expected to do it with Jordan. The expectation is that you are going to win. So that, but they're not going to use that. That is not the case. These fuckheads are going to turn it and say, "Well, you only won, 16-6 against Louisville in the ACC championship, and the goddamn game was boring." And I don't care how boring it was. Checkers is fucking boring to watch, but play it. Chess is boring as fuck to watch, but play it. And to me, it's not about how impressive you win. What's impressive to me is that you can't not find a way to win. Like Florida State, and you can go back to Leatherhead times, and you can add up the times that Florida State this year won off of different adversity. Different things came up. Different situations came to occur. Different things as far as Jordan Travis breaks his leg when we're down 13-0 to a nobody. And then you score 58 straight points unanswered. That's not impressive with a backup.
Right.
I understand it's a lower team, but goddamn, we were losing to them.
Yeah, let me make one comment real quick. Football is an allegory to war. That's how this thing started. They wanted a way that they could go out there and have skirmishes and get these men to learn about, team fighting and all this good stuff in high school and colleges across America. It's an allegory to war, and for you to turn it into a hypothetical. Sorry, guys, I'm having lighting issues here, but when you turn it into a hypothetical about who could possibly win, and people want to talk about, oh, well, injuries is part of what the committee is supposed to look at. Well, you know what the committee is not supposed to do? They're not supposed to look at whether you can win the national title. That is literally in there. Whether or not a team can go all the way and win the playoff is not supposed to be included in, what gets you into the playoffs. It's just not. And it was. And it's a bunch of fucking bullshit. Guys, we're going to get on here a little bit longer. We've kept this thing going so long because there's so many of y'all in here. We've almost got 400 people still in here. The number is on the screen. Get your call in if you got any questions or takes before we get out of here very soon.
And George, I'll just say to what Chris was saying, I 100% agree with you. I think it's more impressive to see what Florida State was able to do to find a way to go in. Alabama had to use their backup at one point. He threw for 107 yards against South Florida. So don't tell me, people act like, okay, he threw for 55 yards. Well, that's because Mike Norvell knew it was a true freshman in a reigning game. They played to protect the ball and let their defense win the game. And that's what the same way they would have done in the playoffs. And what's frustrating, too, is the committee knew Tate was in concussion protocol. So you knew he was going to be back, and he would have had a month to do that. And people talk about you would have went to the playoffs and got beat. Well, they earned the right to go in and get their ass beat if that was the case. But everybody makes the comparison to TCU. And it's like, man, we're not TCU. TCU had the 90th ranked defense. Florida State has the 6th. Their defense would have held them in it, and they still beat Michigan. That was a machine that Georgia had. So, and that juggernaut is not in there this year. And I feel like Florida State's defense could have kept them in any one of those games. I feel like what Mike Norvell
they could have beaten Michigan.
Right.
I 100% think that.
Exactly. And what Mike Norvell could scheme up in a month, he's one of the best offensive minds in football. You think they're not going to scheme up some plays? And, I looked at the CFP data over the course of the games, and here's what makes me so mad about, it wouldn't have been good TV. First off, people love defensive battles. I did. I don't know about you guys. I love the ACC championship. That shit was nerve-wracking.
They'll watch it.
Right, exactly. And I pointed that out with, I think Michigan, Ohio State had more viewers than it was Alabama, Auburn, or the Iron Bowl or something like that, because people like that defensive football. But at the end of the day, man, 27 games have been played, and 70% of them in the CFP era have been decided by 3 scores or more, blowouts, essentially. Don't tell me they're worried about creating good games, because they suck at picking good games. And the underdog story, if you talk about Florida State, they've won, the lower ranked seed has won 13 of 27 games and 6 of 9 national championship games. Give them a chance. And I think it was something, and I could be wrong here, but the numbers, I'm 99% sure, it was something around 60% of playoff games in the CFP era have been won by scoring 30 points or less, or 31 points or less. So if Florida State hasn't given up 30 points all year, including to the best offense in college football, with the Heisman winner at quarterback, you don't think they can hold Michigan's sorry-ass offense to under 30 points? And by the way, I also did a little bit of math. Michigan and I think it was Alabama, have not put up over 27 points against, or I mean, over 30 points against a top 10 defense. And Georgia, I think Texas and Washington have not played a top 30 defense or something like that. Two of the teams haven't averaged over 30 points, and two of the teams haven't played a top 10 defense. So at the end of the day, man, that defense could have kept them in it. Norvell could have schemed some things up, and that's why you just let it play out on the field, man. Everybody said you weren't going to beat Clemson. Everybody said you weren't going to beat LSU. They did it anyway, and like Chris said, you overcame adversity, and at the end of the day, man, when you have a team that can find a way to win, whether it be offense, defense, special teams, whatever the case may be, I mean, you can't count them out of any game. And the fact is, it was unfortunate that it was decided by 13 guys in a boardroom and not by 22 guys on a football field.
Look, and it's those guys that picked against you all year. It's those guys that say FSU can't recruit. It's those guys that say FSU doesn't have enough NFL talent. I've been saying that all year. They got proved wrong all year. Those are the exact same people that are looking at us and saying, oh, well, y'all are conspiracy theorists. That
and Michigan
and
cheated.
ESPN people. Yeah, and Michigan cheated. Sorry to the nice Michigan fan in here. We're not meaning to shit on you too much. But before we get out of here, I want these guys to let you know where you can find them. Chris is up first, at Spirit Addicts on YouTube. Let the folks know what you got going. I know somebody was asking when your next show was.
What's the day?
Today is Tuesday.
Thursday's my next show at 8 p.m. Eastern time. I mean, as far as my show goes, like the shows that I'll be on, if y'all have XM Sirius Radio, you can hear me a lot. I get to talk on there a lot. I don't know why all these people keep inviting me, but fuck it. I'm going to keep doing it. Multiple different shows, but I usually put it up somewhere. I think I do anyway. But Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, I'll be back on with James and Chip, which y'all know we have a lot of fun over there. That's going to probably be considered the Spirit Addicts adult show. Just to be the way that we talk. But look, man, you got three former guys that played the game, and that's locker room talk. I can't help it. It's natural. We're going to do it. So you might as well get used to it or don't watch it. I'm going to go on the 10 Media group. I forget what day he told me, but I'll be on James's show. We're going to do something big. We're going to break games down. He's going to do the offense. I'm going to do the defense for you. So get ready for that. But you can watch me or you can hit me up. Here's the cool thing. And I think Mike Bartz was in here and said it. He's a member on Spirit Addicts. I told him, I think it was Thursday. The Thursday before the rumor came out about Fuller, I told him on Thursday, I said, look, Fuller's about to get an extension. It's a hefty extension. There's a rumor that's going to come out. I don't know from who, that he's going to be leaving. It's all bullshit. And then I think it was Jen that wrote me.
Yeah.
She heard that a rumor was coming. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, that's all bullshit. And she already knew it was, but the facts were that I told everybody, and none of the people that watched my show or that are members, none of them freaked out because they already knew the information.
Mm-hmm.
But y'all do what you do, man. I'm just here. Make sure you keep supporting the Renegade Rundown. To me, it's a great show. I can talk about this shit until I fall asleep, and then I'll wake up and still talk about it. So everybody besides, I think, me, James doesn't do it either. When everybody's like, hey, we've been doing this for an hour, I'm like, oh, okay. Well, are we going for 3 or are we stopping at 1? Like, it doesn't, we don't care. And that's why our shows stop at an hour and 55 minutes, an hour and 51 minutes, 2 hours and 36 minutes. We don't, as long as y'all are engaging and talking to us and we're giving you information that you ask for, that's all that matters. So that's why I tell George all the time, man, you can cut up this video 5 different ways, 60 different clips if you want to. And the longer you go, the more shit you get out of it, if that's what you want to do. But I don't ever put a time limit on it. As long as people are having a good time, let that motherfucker roll. I mean, what do we got better to do besides talk about Florida State? I mean, if y'all got something better to do, your asses wouldn't be here watching.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Let them know what you got going on, and we appreciate you guys for sure, man. If you have any more questions, get them up there. We're coming up on 2 hours, so like he said, we just love talking this football shit, man. I mean, it's just what we love to do. There's a group of us FSU guys that get together and do each other's podcasts, and It's just fun shit. Y'all keep the questions coming, and me and Jim will keep the shows coming 3 days a week. Spear Addicts, you keep their shows coming, and Plant the Spear. Let the folks know what you got going on as far as your next show and stuff.
Yeah, man. And it's funny. I totally agree with what Chris says, because when we get ready to do a show, me and Michael always sit down and we have a 1 hour goal. And I don't think we've made it once. We never make it because, when you get to talking about it, you get like, man, look, we could go to midnight. It doesn't bother me. I love talking about Florida State. We can go on. I try to say things in 5 minutes. I told my wife earlier, I was like, after I'm done, I might do like a little quick video on the quarterback situation. She's like, a quick video? I was like, exactly, because I'll talk for an hour about it, man. So I just love it. But yeah, Plant the Spear. You can check us out on YouTube, the podcast, plantthespear.com, our website. It's kind of got hubs for everything there where you can find us. Join us on social media as well, because I'm telling you guys, like, I go to bat in the comment sections. Like, we go to war. I don't hold back. Sometimes, I've seen a meme where it's like you see that guy and he's like, don't reply to this tweet. Don't reply to this comment. F it, do it anyway. That's this guy, because I'm like, I'm trying to be professional here, but I go at it in the comment section, so it's always fun. But
it's
yeah,
hard. Man,
Sorry, it's hard not to. It's hard not to, but I can't resist, man. I love going at it. That's what the fun is, man. I love the shit talking. That's what makes college football fun. Now I don't. Some people cross the line, but we can go there too. But yeah, man, checking out this week. I got a couple shows coming up. We're going to talk about some portal stuff, recruiting, where we think Florida State should go. That's going to be coming up tomorrow, and then hopefully by Friday. We don't really do live. We record and then post it. I also am going to do a really deep dive on strength of schedule, and I got a lot of numbers for you guys. If I will say, like, we have some fun on our shows, but also if you're kind of a college football nerd in a way, you might also enjoy our show too, because we go through a lot of numbers. And I really do. I'm almost thinking about coming up with my own formula for strength of schedule next year, because I don't really like the way the ones are calculated. But yeah, man, just check us out, Plant the Spear. And George, I appreciate you having me on. As always, I love talking Florida State. Hopefully we can have you come on one of our shows, and Jen and you guys as well come on sometime soon. But yeah, man, I think there's a really great community of Florida State coverage sites. There's a small handful of the sites that really put a lot of passion into it. And you can tell that they put in the time and the energy and the effort. And, it goes a long way for people supporting those. Because a lot of the big guys, they do it for a job. We do it for the passion of the game and the passion of the program. We don't leak stuff. We don't say the stupid stuff. We paint Florida State in a good light. And, I think that's worth something.
100%. Jen, you got anything coming up? Any special guest appearances? Anything you want to let the folks know?
No, I don't really have any. I was on a USC show last night.
Oh yeah, LBC Trojan. I'll go check that out.
Yeah. It was a great show. He was amazing. And basically just wanted to hear about the snub, because even USC fans are just outraged. And so went on there, we talked about it. They hate Miami, so I got to put in a few jabs there. That was fun. It's always a good day for me if I get to do that. And yeah, so I don't have anything right now. I don't think.
Good deal. Well, we got a couple little things to close out here. I see Federal Jedi. He's in all these shows. We appreciate your support, buddy. Is DJ trending for FSU? That's the question in the comments. And I got another text concerning Cam Ward. Yes, we talked about it earlier. We put it out there. He will be visiting Thursday. DJ will be here for a 2-day trip. We're not sure if it's Friday and Saturday or Saturday and Sunday. What do y'all think technically? Is DJ trending for FSU? I don't know if I would say trending, but I think he's definitely, in my opinion, he's got the lead as far as out of the two if I were to pick today.
I have not paid up to Coach Coop yet.
Uh-oh, I didn't see that comment. Let's get it. Let's get it.
But I will say this.
What?
I got to put that damn Miami helmet behind me. But I haven't got the piece of shit because they said they were making it.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Anyways, because it's a little bit different. I said I put a Miami helmet behind me. I didn't say it would look great. I'm trolling Coop with it. He knows about it. He's not. He knows about it. He don't know what it looks like, but he knows it's coming. Secondly,
he'll be here Thursday. Sorry, Midtown. He'll be here Thursday. We just said that.
Do y'all know who dropped the information about Cam Ward being here on Thursday?
I am not. Was it this channel called Spear Addicts?
No. I mean, well, is there's a certain someone that is subscribed to my YouTube channel, but they didn't just subscribe, they're also paying members, and they're in my Discord where I tell the fans. And I dropped the information last week to the fans that paid. And the next thing I know, there's this guy and he drops it and it comes out on this really big network. They drop it. And then I get asked, hey man, how sure are you about this? I'm like, I'm positive. Why? Because I don't want this getting out if it's not true. I said, well, it's not supposed to get out. That's the rule. You don't drop anything. Well, then I find out who the person is and who's been paying for the subscription for 8 months. I don't know why you're getting information from me when you're supposed to be the best at this, but he knows who he is, and he works for On 3 and War Chant.
Unreal.
I think it's funny. They're supposed to be the baddest.
Can I ask one thing, Chris? Is it this one?
It's that one.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Oh, my goodness.
Motherfucker.
It's unreal. That, and I saw somebody in the comments talking about it. The burners, I mean, I guess that's the same thing. He probably has some kind of burner for his YouTube account. It's like
I'm pretty
the
sure
obvious
one
burners.
that follows me and says things. Like, I'm pretty sure of it. I'm pretty sure of it.
It's like, you'd think they'd go out of the way to make it at least not be obvious. It's like, dude, we can tell. That is your, like.
I got one. The one motherfucker from 247 blocked me, what, 2 years ago? A year ago? It was 2 years ago. Because I was talking to fucking Destin Hill and he couldn't. He wanted this fucking number. I was like, okay, well, hold on. We were standing face to. I was like, hold on. Let me ask if he minds you having his fucking phone number. You said you had it. So I asked Destin and he was like, no, I don't want nobody to have it.
Yeah, that's always weird. When somebody comes to you asking for a phone number, it's always such a sketchy thing. Unless it's like a deal where you know for a fact, like you've seen them communicating on the phone. But even that's weird because who knows? They could have changed their number or blocked them. Yeah, that's weird. I always call that person immediately and ask.
As a female point of view, unless you have been given the permission to give said number, don't give the number, like, ever. I'm just saying.
I didn't, and I won't. But it just trips me out. They're supposed to be the big bad guys. They're supposed to be the ones that know everything.
My mother tries to give my number to everybody on an airplane that she's next to. So I'm just saying.
Guys, we are so close. I'm not even looking at the studio right now to see, where our subscribers are. But if you are not subscribed and you're still in here, please hit that subscribe and like button, get the notification bells turned on. We are so close to getting to 1,000 subscribers, and hopefully we can do that before the bowl game, and we can do something fun, maybe do a giveaway or something for the bowl game. Do I need to throw a comment up here? What are you laughing at, Jen?
A friend of mine, Bradley, has decided to enter the chat. And he says, yes, we know, Jen, that my mom likes to give my number out. She likes to see if it's like a doctor
matchmaker
or a lawyer. Yeah, she's like, oh, I think my daughter would like you.
At least she has good taste. You know what I mean? She's looking out for you with that maybe. So she's recruiting blue chips at least. Her blue chip ratio is above board.
She's been married 4 times, and so is my sister. No offense. Oh God,
Lord have mercy.
I'm gonna get in trouble now.
You might be hitting the portal pretty soon.
We're getting the Santee family drama out here.
A year. I'm not the favorite.
Alrighty, guys. What were you about to say?
No comment.
No comment. Well, is there anything else you guys want to bring up before we get out of here?
Man, I'll just say this, like, at the end of the day, no matter what everybody tells you, the talking heads on ESPN, what everybody wants to say, like, this program is fine, man. And I'm really excited about the future. You look at the staff that you have in place, you look at the young talent on this roster, you look at the Battle's End has more members joining now than they ever have before. Like, it's a bright future, man. And they're going to be fine. They're going to end up in the conference that they need to be in. They're going to put themselves in a position. You got strong leadership. And, man, again, it's a really good time to be a Florida State Seminole, no matter what everybody wants to say. Everybody wants to, poo on Florida State or whatever because they're in the ACC and all this stuff, man. I'm telling you, like, I honestly had this gut feeling that they kicked the beehive. Like when they did this, they awoke a giant, and they are about to. We're going to build the Death Star, and you know what I mean? And then they're not going to be able to deny us. And I think Mike
Let's fucking go, man.
We saw evil Mike this year. Like Mike's going to kick the shit out of everybody going forward. So I'm super excited about it, man. I just feel like we're going to get some guys. I trust the staff. I trust what they're doing. And man, I'm just excited for the future.
Facts.
Yeah, I said it was like our origin story. That's what I said. This is like
Right.
your origin story. Yeah.
You created a monster. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you guys for joining us so much, man. We got a show. Make sure y'all catch me, Chris, James. We're on the Wednesday Voice of College Football live stream every Wednesday. So tomorrow, I think that's going to go from 6:30 Eastern or 5:30 Eastern to 7 p.m. Eastern. Mark has a special guest coming on for that. So catch that. I'm going on with Jackson Johnson after that for the little podcast he has after that. And then Thursday, of course, catch Chris Frazier over at Spear Addicts. Friday, we'll have a show here. Me and Jen don't have a plan. We don't have any guests scheduled yet for Friday, but Sunday, we're bringing in, oh my gosh, I'm having a brain fart. Who are we bringing in, Jen?
Zach Smith.
Zach Smith.
From Minnesota Sports.
Okay, so
Yeah.
his partner's Chris. I almost called him Chris Smith. Zach Smith from Minnesota Sports, the former Ohio State wide receiver coach, former GA at Florida, followed Urban around for quite a bit. It has an awesome show, like Jen said, Minnesota Sports. He's really kind of fits with the kind of shit we talk, and he doesn't hold anything back. He really lets it out there. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We can't wait to get that one done. But go Noles, baby.
It's definitely one of my go-tos. And guys, they start at 11, 12, I guess, for most people Eastern time, 11 my time, Central time. It's an amazing show. They're funny. They get into a lot of things. I love it. Anyway, y'all go check it out, and then they'll be on Sunday. And I'm super excited. But George is going to be fangirling out a little bit more than I am.
Right. All right. And when did you say your next show was, Jesse?
We'll be recording the next 2 days. So just check out our channel, subscribe, hit the bell button. You'll get notifications. We don't really have a set schedule. We just post it whenever we get a chance to record because I work a weird schedule. But yeah, man, just check it out. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications, and you'll get to us. So we got some fun stuff coming up. And you know, it's like the infamous Jalen Ramsey video. You know, if you ain't subscribed to Renegade Report, what are you doing, man? George puts out so much content. Like, you know, I know it's towards the end of the season now, man, but like I really got to say, man, from me, like I'm super excited and proud of what you've been able to do so far, building things up, man. I remember it from the beginning, and you've really built something here. So, you know, congrats to you guys, and definitely subscribe because it's some great content, man. And it's fun and it's really enjoyable to watch. And I love being on too. I appreciate it all the time.
Well, I love your show, and I love your co-host too, and I love watching you guys. Y'all have the funniest jokes back and forth, and I swear that one, him and his Christmas sweater just killed me. It really
I keep
did.
inviting him on when Mike was busy. We'll figure it out, and we'll get Hinton in here too. But
Definitely.
But yeah, same thing with Spear Addicts, and like Chris and James, meeting those two guys and the help they've gave me over the past year has been huge. So make sure you're subscribed. Plant the Spear, Den Media Group, Spear Addicts. Go on X and follow Jen Santee, 1890. It's all love, baby. It's all about Florida State football. We will catch you guys next time.